It's the beginning of a new era for women's basketball this weekend as the Unrivaled League tips off in Miami. The league has been building hype for the last year, and now we will finally see the on-court result. We're diving into everything Unrivaled. This is Locked On Women's Basketball, presented by FanDuel.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. You are Locked On Women's Basketball. I am Chelsea Leite of The Next Hoops, and this weekend is the start of something that could be very special in women's basketball. Joining me today is Gabby Alfveby. Did I say that right?
Alfveby. You're good.
Alfveby. Gabby Alfveby. She is a Connecticut Sun beat reporter and my teammate over at The Next Hoops. Today we're going to be breaking down the Unrivaled Basketball League ahead of its opening weekend. Thanks for making Locked On Women's Basketball your first listen every day, and remember that Locked On Women's Basketball is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. All right, so let's get into some Unrivaled stuff. You are actually going, or you're in Florida right now, actually, as we speak, to attend the opening weekend of Unrivaled. Gonna do some media, gonna watch the game, so that's so exciting. And if anybody watching is new or doesn't really understand or has been following Unrivaled, basically Breanna, Stewart, and Napheesa Collier created this off-season league, 3-on-3 league. They're gonna be playing on a condensed court. There's a few different rules. But the idea was to give players another option basically for the off season so that, if they didn't want to go overseas or if they have families and stuff like that, they could still play and develop in the off season without having to go to like Europe or China or Australia. And like they mentioned in media last week, it wasn't intended to be like a replacement for those things. It's just, they deserve to have multiple options. And yeah, it's just like exciting, and it's the pay seems really good. It's like equal to the WNBA max, which is wild for a short amount of time. But Gabby, in your opinion, like what does the Unrivaled League mean for like the women's basketball community as a whole?
Honestly, it's huge. Like it's a movement, like you said. Like the pay is already like at that like higher than the average WNBA salary, and it's only for 8 weeks, which is a very short amount of time, especially for the extended amount of time that WNBA season usually is. And they have a lot more games too. But like now, like you said, like players do have that opportunity to stay in the US. Now they could use like Unrivaled to help like prepare for the season. Like some of them couldn't even go overseas, even though that was like what they had to do. Some of them did still have obligations in the United States, and they don't have that option. So money's tight. And, now they do have the option, and now they can bring their whole family with them with like, they have care facilities for their children. Yeah. And like they all got individual apartments, which is really cool.
Yeah. It just seems like not only is it like a good option for people, but they're really like the players have been saying, just like rolling out the red carpet for them. I saw Angel Reese tweeted, excuse me. Sorry, recovering from a cold if I cough during this recording. But Angel Reese did tweet the other day saying that she like got a massage and like a facial and everything. And like they're just treating them so well. Like I think it's really just like raising the standard for the WNBA and for women's basketball as a whole, which is going to be really important coming up with the CBA negotiations. So like, do you have any thoughts on like what that could mean as we go into the CBA, or like?
I mean, it's definitely going to push for better treatment for these players. I mean, now they know what it's like too, because they've never had it before. Like it's normal for like male sports and in all areas, and so for them to actually experience it opens up like a whole new world for them to be able to negotiate better.
Oh, of course, yeah, it's definitely going to be a huge negotiating point. And I mean, like, in terms of like the idea was like the best women's basketball players, and you have like all of these there's 36 players. It's a small league, of course, but like in terms of who they were able to get, do you have anybody that you're like especially excited to see play in this new format?
I think I'm excited to see like Arike's like explosiveness show up in 3-on-3 Unrivaled.
Yeah.
But also like the post players, because some people don't always think, oh, 3-on-3 like post players.
Yeah.
Like, and they're gonna be able to benefit from each other, especially like with Stewie and Aaliyah Edwards on one team. Like I think that's really good for Aaliyah, especially both being Huskies and coming from UConn.
Yes, exactly.
But also like Brittany Griner and Aaliyah Boston, Angel Reese. I'm excited to see like how their style comes into play with 3-on-3.
For sure. And I mean, in terms of 3-on-3, like I feel like people hear 3-on-3, they automatically think like FIBA 3-on-3. This isn't FIBA 3-on-3. They're playing on a full court. It's a condensed full court, as opposed to like the FIBA half court situation. But it's like, yeah, I feel like you were saying with post players, I feel like FIBA 3-on-3 especially, people like prioritize those like very dynamic like big guards and like small forwards, because they're able to do like, you know, the post play, but also shoot and handle and pass and all that stuff. So this can be a little different because it's 3-on-3, but it's more on the like traditional side of basketball almost, because you're playing full court. You have to think about spacing and, you know, transition and stuff like that. So yeah, I think, you know, there are a few different rules in terms of like, you know, and you can go look up the specific Unrivaled rules, but is there any like extreme difference from this to like say like 5-on-5 WNBA play that you're like super excited to see play out in Unrivaled?
I'm really interested about this like winning score quarter rule, which is they still like were a little unclear about in their like intro, but it's like they're supposed to add 11 points to the winning team score through 3 quarters, which I think is like a really neat rule. Like I've never seen anything like it. So
yeah, it's like very similar. Like it's not the exact same as like the G League, and I feel like they kind of took rules from like a bunch of different leagues and tried to like mesh them all together, which is really cool. Sorry, but the point is that like so you play 3 quarters. There's 7-minute quarters, and then at the end, 11 points gets added to the leading team score. And then you just play until you hit that score, and then it's over. There's no overtime. There's nothing. So, yeah, I think it's interesting. It's definitely going to add, like, a certain competitiveness to the end of games that, you know, is different from the WNBA because you're going on score, not on time. I'm curious about, like, the fouling rule, because like there's this whole thing that if you foul out but there's not enough players on the team to keep going, then you stay in the game and you get technical fouls. So like I'm a little curious about like those technical fouls. And like in the WNBA, if you get a technical foul, you pay a fine. And I think they like, I know in the NBA specifically, they like donated to charity. I wouldn't be surprised if the WNBA was the same rule, but I'm excited what they're going to do with like that money. And then the big thing that is also a part of Unrivaled is this one-on-one tournament. So basically, like in the middle of the season, they're going to do a one-on-one tournament, and it's like tournament style. The players were kind of confused about it because like Arike was like, am I going to have to go up against BG? Like, what is this? I would never win. So I'm very curious how that's going to work, but ultimately the winner gets $250,000. So I think they're all just kind of down to try for that like possibility. Because again, like winning $250,000 on top of the fact that you're already making around $200,000 just to be there is already doubling what you're making in the WNBA. So that's a wild concept as well. So I'm curious, just as a little like bonus throw out question, if you have like your ideal like one-on-one finals matchup that you want to see happen.
Honestly, I would like to see a little bit of a rematch, and let's see Napheesa Collier and Breanna Stewart. Let's do like a finals rematch, but one-on-one style.
Yeah, that to me was the first thing that popped into my mind as well. Part of me is like, oh, is that kind of like, because they're like the bosses technically of the league, is that kind of like weird if one of them wins $250,000? But you know, it's all fair. But yeah, that was one. I was really hoping A'ja Wilson was going to join Unrivaled so we could see like the Breanna Stewart A'ja Wilson one-on-one, because that's what I've honestly like dreams. But yeah, yeah, it's very exciting. And the little like concept of that being thrown in for fun and for that much money is really wild as well. So yeah, it's just like, I don't know. I feel like this is something that's not specifically trying to take over the WNBA. They're not trying to like, beat it or replace it or whatever. But I think it's like something I was talking to someone the other day. It just felt like I was like saying this feels like summer camp. Like I feel like we're going to women's basketball summer camp right now. So yeah, like, I don't know, like, is that how you feel? Like, do you think it's going to last? And B, like, do you think that like the amount of hype that we're seeing for it is going to match the product?
I definitely think it's going to match, especially since like it's more like they're more loose. They're having fun. It's still competitive, but it's not as serious as the WNBA season. And I think that also is going to contribute. All the content that's coming out of it is amazing. Especially Marina Mabry's cooking.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's so fun.
But, like it's definitely, sorry, my head was
That's okay.
It's definitely like a summer campy vibe because of that fun feeling that's coming with it. And I am so for it. And I definitely think it's going to last, especially like next season. They're definitely going to grow. And I'm sure like hopefully Asia Wilson will join next time too.
I know. Yeah. And like, yeah, maybe like start going to different cities and stuff like that. So that's really cool. All right. So coming up next, we're going to break down the 6 Unrivaled team rosters and discuss some fun matchups and lineups. So stay tuned. We'll be back. From first whistle to final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. The FanDuel app is easy to navigate, and the variety of bets keeps every game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around for your winnings. Whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs, FanDuel has you covered. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Locked on Women's Basketball is brought to you by Skims for Men. When I found out Skims was making underwear for men, I was intrigued. I've so often been called the Kardashian of women's basketball. So getting the opportunity to try Skims, knowing about their quality from friends and family, it lives up to the hype. I tried the boxer brief. It works really well with an active lifestyle, whether I'm working out or I'm just doing something socially. Skims boxer brief really works, stays in place all day. I cannot recommend it highly enough. Go to Skims Men's section over at skims.com/LockedOnNBA or check out that section in the Skims store. Let them know that we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. Again, skims.com now with Skims underwear for men.
Okay, we are back on Locked On Women's Basketball, and we are talking Unrivaled heading into opening weekend. So let's talk rosters quickly. If people, haven't been in tune with the announcements. So let's go through each team, and I'll kind of just like read out the roster, and then let's just talk about specific matchups that we're excited about going into this team and like what it could mean for, just the players' development, what it could mean for the games, stuff like that. So just a list that I have here. The first one is Laces Basketball Club. So we have Steph Dolson, Tiffany Hayes, Kate Martin, Kayla McBride, Alyssa Thomas, and Jackie Young. So like right off the bat for me, I feel like, again, Kate Martin just got like really lucky in terms of where she ends up as a basketball player. She's just had really good luck in terms of where she's been. I like Steph Dolson here because she has 3-on-3 experience. Again, it's like different in FIBA, but you still have that like spacing 3-on-3 mentality. And then Alyssa Thomas on this team is like big because like, if I was a basketball player. Like, I mean, you're in Connecticut too. You're very familiar with Alyssa Thomas, but the idea of just like getting to play with Alyssa Thomas would just like excite me. So looking at this specific roster, like what stands out to you?
Yeah, so like you said, the Kate Martin, I think it was funny that she got to be on the same team as Tiffany Hayes and Jackie Young, and they're called the Laces, which is like
yeah,
okay.
true. Oh my gosh, that's the first time I've ever thought of that.
But also, yeah, you do not want to play against Alyssa Thomas. Like, she is that player in the WNBA that you want her on your team. So, like, I would be so excited to have her, like, her competitiveness and, like, just having her, like, on my side. Like, seeing her come at you in full force is probably the most terrifying thing ever, especially, like, as a shorter player.
Yeah, like, she's so strong. She's so talented. Her shot-making ability, despite the fact that she just, like, doesn't have shoulders, is wild. Yeah, that's a big one. So next up is Lunar Owls Basketball Club. So you have Shakira Austin, technically Cameron Brink, but she won't be playing. Napheesa Collier, Skylar Diggins-Smith, Alicia Gray, and Courtney Williams. The first thing that stands out to me is like Shakira Austin getting to learn from Napheesa Collier is huge. And also like the idea of, so you have Courtney Williams and Napheesa who have experience playing together, but then you have Skylar who like hasn't really played, I don't think, with any of these players. So I'm excited to see how Skylar kind of like meshes in to this roster. What do you think?
Yeah, this roster was like really interesting to me when I was looking at it because, like, yeah, you have the feet and court duo, and it's always great, and it will help build their chemistry even more for the WNBA season. But then there's like Alicia Gray and Shakira and like Skylar Diggins-Smith, and I'm just like really curious to see how they play together because like there's nothing we can really base it off of. It's like so different.
Yeah. It is really different. And I think that's like one of the cool things about this league is that ultimately like playing with these different types of players that you will then face up against in the WNBA like a month later or 2 months later is just like so exciting because then you're going to have such a different perspective of how they play. So that one's really cool. Next up, Miss Basketball Club, we have Dejanay Carrington, Aaliyah Edwards, Rakia Jackson, Jewel Lloyd, Breanna Stewart, and Courtney Vandersloot. This one I find so funny because it's like Breanna Stewart gets to reunite with Jewel Lloyd, and then Breanna Stewart also gets to reunite with Courtney Vandersloot. And then you just have like 3 younger players who are just so exciting in all of their own ways. So like this roster is so intriguing to me. I know you were kind of mentioning before the like husky to husky kind of connection here, but yeah, that and like what else does this roster scream out to you?
Well, obviously the Jewel Stewie duo, watching them in Seattle was amazing. Like I still have like that one play stuck in my head of like they like did a touch pass back to each other. Like
yes.
And I still have like the announcers' voices like in my head, like the commentators.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, like these young players are gonna be able to learn from like Salute, Jewel, and Stewie and be able to put that onto the court next season, which I think is neat. Because, you know, like being a young player, especially like Aaliyah and Rakia, they're super young. And being in like the WNBA, it's overwhelming. And to have like that leadership and to be able to learn from older players is helpful.
Oh, for sure. It's gonna like benefit all of them. And even Dejanay too, who's like a little bit older than Aaliyah and Rakia, but like is so talented and like is set up to like sign a big contract and stuff. Like even just seeing how Jewel and Stewie and Sloot like operate is going to be so big for her. And just get the opportunity to play with like different stars other than like, obviously she's used to playing with stars in Connecticut, but like now getting to like diversify that is like so helpful for her. So that's when I definitely have my eye on that team. But then we move on to Phantom Basketball Club. We have Natasha Cloud, Brittany Griner, Sabrina Ionescu, Marina Mabry, Satu Sabali, and Katie Lou Samuelson. Right off the bat, just like, again, I mean, every one of these rosters is very talented, but like this one in particular to me seems like very intriguing. So I'm curious to like what your initial thoughts were, especially because you had, you know, the trade, you had Sabrina added to this one. So what do you think?
I like this 3-point shooter combo of Sab, Mabry, and Katie Lou. Like, they can really do some damage. And I mean, I mean, like, other players also on the team can make threes, but, like,
Yeah.
them three, like, specifically, like, if they could just, like, knock 3, 3, 3, like, forget about it.
Oh,
And I
for
know, like,
sure.
I know they're not, like, counting as three-pointers, but, I think that it's still gonna obviously be a huge additive to their team.
Oh, of course, that distance shooting and, like, especially with the shorter shot clock, it's 18 seconds as opposed to 24, like, being able to just pull up like that is gonna be so huge for them. So yeah, that's definitely exciting. I am also excited to see Breanna and Satu, like, reunite and see if that chemistry from college is still there. So that will be very exciting to watch as well. All right, moving on to Rose Basketball Club, we have Collier Copper, Chelsea Gray, Lexi Hall, Angel Reese, Azrae Stevens, and Brittany Sykes. I think the biggest thing for me on this one is, like, Angel Reese getting to play with a point guard like Chelsea Gray, even though it's a different format than 5-on-5. I think it's just going to be so, so, so important for her going into the second year of her career. So yeah, what do you think about the Rose Basketball Club?
That also stood out to me, because, like you said, having that solid point guard in Chelsea Gray, and she's a vet player and all that. But also, again, like, there's a little bit of a younger talent on here with Lexi Hull and Angel Reese, and, like, I think they're going to learn a lot, just in these 8 weeks, especially Lexi Hull. Like, she's known to be a three-point shooter, and I'm sure she doesn't want to be known as just that. And,
Yeah,
like,
of course.
so she's definitely going to expand her game in Unrivaled. And I think, like, any of these players can help her do that, like Collier Copper, Brittany Sykes.
Yeah, and I think, like, with Lexi too, another big part of her game is her defense, which, like, is so valuable to have. So I think being able, like, defense is going to be such a huge point here in Unrivaled because, 3-on-3, the spacing is different. So yeah, that's going to be really exciting for her. Moving on to the last team, we have Vinyl Basketball Club. Aaliyah Boston, Ray Burrell, Jordan Canada, Dearica Hamby, Ryan Howard, and Enrique Igumbawale. Thoughts?
So I think, like, a really cool, like, lineup for them would be, like, Aaliyah Boston, Ryan Howard, and then Enrique.
Yeah.
Or also, like, even, like, a Ryan Dearica with their experience with, like, 3-on-3 basketball, even though it's different.
Yeah.
They've played together, so those are really cool lineups that I would like to see this season.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I was saying, the idea of, like, mixing up all these players and then they're gonna play, like, against and with each other in the WNBA, I think is so big for their development. So yeah, it's very interesting. I think there's so much talent; it's so hard to be like, oh, this team is the clear front runner. But yeah, I just think that I like the way that they made the teams very even. And, like, even, like, the design concepts and this, the identities of the team are really cool too. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. But anyway, coming up after the break, we're going to preview Unrivaled opening night and make our game day predictions. So stay tuned. With Robinhood Gold, you can enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash and non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on the annual IRA contribution, sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 per month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to robinhood.com/boost. Over 8% of the national average savings account interest rate claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November 18th, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC member SIPC Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. Okay, so welcome back to Locked On Women's Basketball. So, opening weekend here for Unrivaled. We don't have too much time, but you're going to be in Miami. So I'm just curious, what are you hoping to see? What are you hoping to do as Unrivaled starts this weekend?
So I'm reporting live for Miami for the next, and like I am just so excited to see like the playing stage. I mean, it's brand new, and be immersed in like the environment and the games with the fans, and like just being a part of this like special moment. Like it's a special moment of like history for women's basketball, and to say that I was there and reporting on it is huge.
I know, that's so exciting. So for the opening night, so Friday night, it starts, I believe, at 7 EST. But anyway, Friday night on TNT Sports. So we have Lunar Owls versus Mist and Rose versus Vinyl. Just who do you think's going to win each match?
So I've got Vinyl winning because of Ryan and Dearica's 3-on-3 experience and playing together for USA. I think that like just again, like if you have played together, obviously that adds a lot to your team.
Yeah.
And then I have the Mist winning together just because I think they're a really well put together team with amazing talent. I mean, every team has amazing talent, but like this team specifically stood out to me, and I think they're going to fit really well together.
Awesome. Yeah. I think, again, I also agree that I think Mist is going to win that first game. And then Rose versus Vinyl, I don't know. Maybe I'll go different. I'll say Rose, just, Chelsea Gray and like, Angel Reese, and seeing how that connection works. Maybe we'll see something special come out of that. So yeah, it's going to be really exciting. You can watch Unrivaled on TNT. And then on Saturday, I think it's True TV, and then they play Monday. So it's going to be Fridays, Saturdays, and Mondays for the next 8 weeks. And yeah, I'm excited. We're going to talk a lot more on Locked On Women's Basketball about Unrivaled, and maybe have some players on and all that. So make sure to stay tuned. But Gabby, thank you so much for coming to join me on Locked On Women's Basketball. I know this is your first podcast, right?
Yes, it is.
Amazing. So where can people find you online, and what are you up to?
You can find me on Instagram at Gabby Alfveby Writes. And also you can find me on X, which I'm going to swing away from soon, but just Gabby Alfveby.
Nice. All right. For Locked On Women's Basketball, I'm Chelsea Leite, and don't forget you can sign up for the Locked On NBA newsletter for free at lockedondaily.com. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.